I'm so excited after many a reschedule for
Yeah.
reasons which were actually not on her end. I finally get Jackie Ekstrom on my show, on Jesus's show.
Amen.
And I've kind of been following Jackie sort of, from a distance on Facebook and things. And she contacted me to give me a prophetic word, which blew my socks off. She has just amazing gifting. We got multiple giftings. So Jackie, welcome. I'm so happy you're finally on.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. I'm excited to be here.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah. I love all of these beautiful divine connections that keep happening. That's what I call them.
And they are, isn't that?
They are.
It's really glorious when God gets to do the connections.
Yes.
So let me tell you a little bit about Jackie. Just if you don't know her, you will want to go find her because she's so amazing. But I just want to give you a little bit, so you know a little bit of her background, and then we're just going to kind of dive in. Does that work for you, Jackie?
Yes, it does. Perfect.
All righty. So born in Jamestown, New York area, Jackie resides on the beautiful and majestic Chautauqua.
Yeah.
I need to say it in tongues, so we find Lake. Her son and father-in-law have blessed Jackie with 3 beautiful granddaughters. Jackie's ministry focuses on the prophetic word of God. To prepare Jackie for ministry, God kept Jackie concealed from the world for many years. Oh my God, I can relate. We need to compare notes. As hard as her isolation was, Jackie remained obedient to God. She was fortified with his new wine as he prepared her for what was to come. Now God has opened her doors. Jackie is sharing the new wine with others and spreading his message of community, family, and showing people what real intimacy with God embodies. Today, Jackie travels the countries, awakening others to God's love. She can meet people where they are in their life and helps them receive God's love. She is now fortifying others with God's new wine and watches as they grow in their journey with the Father. I just am having a good time reading it.
Yeah.
Wow.
I love the girl who helped me do that. And she's been a friend of mine for quite a while, and I asked her to help me do it, and it was so cool that she came up with a lot of that. Beautiful. Just by watching me. Yeah.
Oh, I love that so much. So can you tell us a little bit about your background? Is this that God was preparing you really behind the scenes for a long time?
Yes, I have always been under the radar. That's what I call it, under the radar, a hidden one. And I can tell you, I really wanted it that way. And the Father really honored it, as much as I can tell you through the years. I had so many people that I had an amazing gifting right off the bat. And I didn't come to the Lord till I was like 34. I wasn't awake until I was 34, came to the Lord, whatever you want to call it, or had my born again experience that we used to call it. Now it's an awakening. But I had 2 brothers that had gone before me as prophets in the city that I live in. And so when I came in very, very deep, very deep. And I came into everything, I started getting prophetic words. I was in a prophetic church, and I started hearing the voice of the Lord just like that. And it was kind of funny because when I got awakened, I was delivered, healed, set free. I did not know. I had encountered some Baptist ladies and Methodist ladies like a couple months later. And I said, well, didn't your chains fall off? And they were like, what? See, I thought it was a package deal. I thought everybody got this.
Right.
Okay. So I didn't know that everybody, I had to learn that people just had their toe in the water and all of that. But, it didn't take me long to realize that I had experienced what I had experienced because my brothers had foreran for me. Okay. And I can tell you, it was me. Yeah. Okay, my 2 brothers that had, my one brother, Jerry, had birthed the prophetic church in our town in the 80s from just by reading Bill Hammond's books, okay? Right. And he bore a lot of fruit. And so he was, my 2 brothers, my younger brother, Jeff, joined him shortly after. And then I was with my other brother, I have 3 brothers, Joe. Him and I were in the bars partying, and we thought they were nuts. Oh my gosh, crazy. I had decreed and declared I would never be one of those born again people.
Oh my goodness.
So, did I have my feet dug in? And, I had friends that would ask me all these crazy things, like, what are your brothers doing up there? And what's up with the speaking in tongues? And I had no idea. I just would tell them, I don't know. Then somebody came to me and said, I heard they're slaying animals up there. I was like, well, I don't think they're doing that, the whole thing about the cult and all that stuff that comes up. Well, anyways, I just knew that, especially my one brother, Jerry, walked in so much love, even though it was crazy and I didn't understand it. I knew they were doing something, okay, even though I still thought it was crazy. So anyways, when I came in really deep, and I just really came into having encounters with God just like that. And God took me out into with what they call, or people call, a trance now. Like, I was 4 months old in the Lord, and I got taken out into this trance. My whole body started buzzing when I was in bed one night, and I wasn't praying or anything.
Right.
And I mean, we're talking buzzing to the point where I felt like a turbo jet ready to take off. And I started to take off to the right, but then I got fearful and I came back. And it just completely flipped me out. I laid there for 20 minutes, and I won't tell you the words I said because I was swearing. And I was like, what was that? No one's ever going to believe this. Took 20 minutes for my body to calm down and quit buzzing. But then the next day I realized I knew it was God, and I didn't want to miss that encounter or that visitation. So all week I prayed. Actually, we were going camping that week, and I prayed. And I walked the trails and I prayed in tongues. And I just said, please come back. I don't want to miss that encounter. But this is really funny. I was camping with my family that had like 8 cabins in a state park. And I thought, my God, what if I'm camping with them and I disappear or something happens? But anyways, so all week while we were camping, nothing happened. As soon as I was back home in my bed that night, it happened again. I left. And I went into this house, cabin, something, and I was going through the floors and the walls. And we were going from room to room to room to room. And I knew it was really significant. And I was going in and out of all these rooms, and I knew it was really significant. And I knew I wanted to remember it. Right. Well, I can tell you, I ended up forgetting what every one of those rooms were, and I'll tell you why. I was at the end of going through all of these rooms, I was in a bed. It was a water bed with a good friend of mine who was mentoring me at the time, and another really good friend of mine over here. And one at a time, they each kissed me on the cheek on each side and said they loved me. And then boom, I buzzed back out again. And I went into another room, and I was sitting on a twin bed, looking out a window. And then I heard the audible voice of God. And I don't know if you've ever heard it, but it shook me to the core. I forgot everything I was trying to remember, which I know I really wasn't to remember. It was almost like the scroll rolled back up, And anyways, he said he was putting a white robe on me and to wear it loosely. And I felt these 2 hands put this robe on me, and it just all the way from my head, all the way down to the soles of my feet. And that's what he said. And I came boom back to my bed. And it was definitely like, oh my God. I had never heard of a trance. I'd never heard of anything, nothing. I didn't have a grid for it. Right. And I just thought nobody would believe it. So when I finally did tell my one brother, Jerry,
it happens to everybody.
Yeah. Now we're living in the age and time that everybody talks about these encounters and all that. But so, I say that to say from the get-go, for me, it's always been about encounters and experiences. So yeah. And even though I have done a lot of isolation and I've been under the radar, I started out in that church. It turned crazy though. There was a big split, and believe it or not, they thought I was sent in undercover to take over the church by one brother, and the other brother was in the church. It was insane. Okay. It was crazy, as crazy as it could get. And the crazy just didn't end. So, I had to have a lot of discernment and figure out a lot of things. And then I just got angry and I didn't want anything to do with it. And I started to see how screwed up everybody was. And I watched these prophets, and they were I would watch them, and then they'd be so messed up. And God taught me many, many, many years ago how the giftings can become a drug of choice, and how many of them were going after the drug of choice, but then they were so messed up. Okay, they were getting caught stuck in porn. They were getting caught having, affairs, and the list goes on.
Yeah.
Because obviously they were longing for intimacy, and they had, that platform had been built.
Mhm.
And then, they were a mess. I just kept saying, and everybody kept telling me I was supposed to be one of these. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be one of them. I'm just telling you, I did not want to be. But from the get-go, I have to tell you, I came into such a prophetic flow, and my gift came so easily. And I don't quite know why. The only thing I can say is my brothers paved the way.
Mhm.
And so I flowed so easily. So, after a few church splits and all the crazy stuff, I really never went back and belonged to much of a church anywhere. I was under the radar. My one brother, Jerry, we had house meetings and intimate meetings, and I would come and go to places that God would have me go to bring words to certain people, but I would get in and get out. And a few I stayed, and I found out I really wasn't supposed to stay. But anyways, I long for fellowship, and I long for intimacy. I'll tell you right now, my hunger for intimacy exceeded what the gift could do for me.
Mhm.
And I always wanted that love and that intimacy. And my story is a story about a lot of sexual abuse. And I really wasn't awakened to the fact that I'd been sexually abused before the age of 12 until I became born again. I had a lot of blocked memories, and whoa, that was a little crazy, but at least it brought me answers to why I was the way I was. So, so the whole journey for me has been a lot of fear. And so the gifts were fun, and it was amazing. And I'd see people's lives touched. But like I said, it didn't satisfy. It just didn't satisfy, put it that way. You get the accolade. I literally had people trying to build platforms for me, and pastors telling me I had to do it. And I'm telling you, it was crazy. I'm like, oh no. I'd say, I am not ready for that. It is not my time. And they would try to tell me it was. But what they wanted was, they really wanted to build their church off of me. They wanted me to be able to build their church. So it was sad, but I'm sure you encountered some of that yourself.
I'm just almost like point for point to say,
Wow.
that laid but pretty much everything else. Yep. I mean, yeah. So no wonder we're connected, right? I don't know, but I'm connecting. This is such a big deal. So wow.
Yeah.
And that evolution in the body of Christ, and using the gifts, making the gifts an idol, and then sort of having your gifts, people wanting you because of your gifts, but it's a missing, and oh man, messy, painful.
Yeah. And so my one brother, Jerry, was amazing. He had experienced a lot of inner healing, and had learned from the Sanfords and all of that. So he could see where I was and helped me a lot, directed me in that direction to get a lot of inner healing, which was a total blessing. And like I said, we had some real small groups and all of that, which I loved. I just learned to love the smaller groups and the community groups much more than any of the bigger churches, so
really become intimate with one another, right?
Exactly.
Connection, and there's a place for all of it, right?
Yeah. But then that was all wonderful, and the small groups were good, and I had gotten a lot of healing and everything. But then really came the time that God completely separated me from both of my brothers. So, everybody will say, you have two brothers that are prophets, there's three prophets in a family. I said, yeah, and it's the biggest mess you could ever possibly imagine. I said, oh my gosh. So my two brothers are still separated, and it's been 25 years. And so it's pretty crazy. And this local lady in our town that gave me a word one time in 2001, and the whole word came to pass. And she told me I was going to separate from my brothers. And she said, she said that their covenants were going to wash away. They weren't going to work. God was taking me to a whole new place. And it was grace and faith. And that they would be coming along with me eventually because theirs were going to wash away and all that. And I thought it was crazy when she gave that to me.
Right.
And she had been with my brother Jerry. She is a prophetess in town. She's been through all the crazy stuff, and she so honors my brother Jerry still to this day. She does. She's still praying for all of us. And
Right.
then I got to be with her for a while, and so that was like, whoa, but it all really happened. And so it's been quite the crazy journey. And so then I want to tell you this. So I've always loved the one. And I've always been one that if I get to minister to one and see one life changed, it's worth it. Okay.
Exciting.
So yeah, so I was always hearing the voice of the Lord and the whisper of the Father. It didn't matter if it was go to a church and give a word or go to a rehab that somebody was in and give a word. I didn't care what it was. And back then, 20 years ago, it was me running around with my crazy little cassette recorder. Okay.
Oh, yes.
Because I knew the power of what a word did.
Yes.
For one person. So I was so crazy sometimes I was dropping off cassettes in people's mailboxes even to get them a word because,
It's not in cassette form.
Yep. And because, they wouldn't let you into the church. And then there were times I would sneak into the churches. I don't care if it was one or two to give a word to, I'd sneak in. And then of course, the next week, the pastor's preaching, watch out for those parking lot prophets.
Oh boy.
Yep. All of that. But it didn't matter to me. It really didn't, because I always knew the power of one word. And so I had gone through a lot of loss, and I've actually lost 2 houses and everything twice. And so when I went through one loss and lost everything and got pretty mad at God, but then I kind of got back into finding my groove and still finding the one. And I was taking a lot of different people into my house at the time too, and ministering to them, and did that. Would do anything the Father wanted me to do. And in the midst of it, he was still bringing me to different people and places to get some inner healing, which was beautiful. But where was I going with this? I lost my bunny trail. I do this all the time.
You love ministering to the one, and then you lost 2 houses.
Yes. Okay. So the first house I lost, it was a big Job experience. It really was. I lost my house, my marriage, and my dad in a fire, all within 2 months.
Oh my God, that's catastrophic.
And it was, but I can tell you the second one actually was worse than that one. So, but the second time I lost it, I was so angry at God. I would tell you what, here's my story. Okay. Angry. I hadn't entered into any of the sonship stuff yet. Okay. So every time I was going through all this loss, all I was hear God say, it's because of the call. It was because of the call. Here's what I said. Take the effing call. Here's what I did. Take the effing call. I threw my Amplified Bible at the wall. It flew everywhere. It was my favorite Bible. Right. And I said, I have never prayed for this. I never asked for this call, and I don't want it.
Right.
And that was that. Now, did it stop that from happening? No. Suffering went on for quite a long time.
Wow.
Yep. It was crazy. And actually, even my brothers had separated from me at that time. And I just had no help from anybody. It was just a really, really crazy, rocky road for 4 or 5 years of suffering. Now, let me tell you when it turned around for me. So when it turned around was, I went to watch the movie Divergent. Okay. And this was at a time where I was living in this lady's house with her in one room. Okay. And I did not like being there. She used to be a friend, but she turned very religious, and she was just not nice. Let's just put it that way. So I go and I watch this movie Divergent. And in the movie, I clearly heard the Lord say, I'm bringing your apostle. And I went, okay, so where is he coming from? Because there's not one in this county. I said, there is not one here, and he's got to be coming from somewhere. Well, it all happened on Facebook.
Oh,
and that's where my Facebook journey began. Yeah. And that's where, I want to go back and just say this quick. I want to say this. This was amazing for me, and I know a lot of people didn't get to experience this, but my brother Jerry, I really honor him, because he introduced me to such amazing grace. Mm-hmm. And so I was always a rebel. I'm just telling you, because I got introduced to grace, and it just got deeper and wider. And I could not be, there was no control coming over me with no law. Okay.
Yay.
And yeah, and that's why I wouldn't go into any of these churches. And, everybody's trying to tell me I got to go to the local church and I've got to get, this one and that one to be who I am. And I
Everybody
was
but
like,
Jesus telling you that. Yes. Okay.
that's right. That's right. But I thank God, you know what? I thank God I had the rebel in me, because I had a rebel in me for many, many years. But see, that rebel then kicked into the right place.
Right. You got to rebel against the right things.
That's right.
But it's powerful when you,
yes.
right. Like, oh no, no, not doing that. And that's like, yeah, you're not doing that.
Yeah. 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 So I just wanted to say that. So I didn't have to go through a lot of the abuse so many went through with religion. Okay. If I did go to a service, I'll tell you what I did. I'd go for the praise and worship, or I'd go wherever God told me to go. And then when the pastor went to speak, I would just go with the Lord and get my own word. That's what I did.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, he was speaking to me, and that's what because I just knew there was so much law in what they were speaking, and I wasn't going to be under it. Anyway, so I wanted to say that, but then I wanted to flip forward to my Facebook meeting. So then God said my apostle was coming. So I had just gone on Facebook, okay? I can remember my son made me join Facebook. I remember when he made me go from a flip phone to an iPhone. He kept saying, Mom, you can do this. I'm like, this is crazy. I don't think I can. Mom, you can do it. It's really easy. And then he's like, you need to get on this Facebook group. I do not. I fought him. And that was like 8 years ago. Yeah, at least 8 years ago. And so I fought him. Well, anyway, so finally, when I'm in this one room living with this girl and barely any work, and I got introduced to a group, okay, one of the groups. I never knew there was groups. I just kind of fell into this group, and it was called the Seer Group. And this one guy was posting things on there, and I really loved it. I didn't have any idea what he was saying, but I loved it. My spirit was saying yes. My head was saying, I don't understand any of this. And so I was really excited, and I was excited to check out his posts every day. Oh, and they had prophetic threads on there. And I started to flow on these crazy prophetic threads. And it was just so wild to me, because I would give like a 2-sentence, 3-sentence, or 4-sentence word. And I'm getting all these people testifying, coming to me, telling me all these things that are happening to them. And I'm going, God, this is crazy. I usually do a face-to-face word, 10 minutes, and people, really touch. But so this is where the whole Facebook thing started. And I would flow for hours and hours on those prophetic threads. I did. And so all of a sudden, the person I met on there disappeared, and I didn't know where he'd gone to. I'm like, oh, I haven't seen him on here for a while. Well, finally, something popped up on my phone, and he had started his own group. So I got on his group, and his name is Brian Christian. I think you know that. Yeah. And so I get on his group, and I'm doing the same thing. They're like all doing stuff, and I'm not just on a prophetic thread, but I'm like on different posts, and I'm responding prophetically and ministering to people and all of this. And so then all of a sudden I get this message from Brian. He's like, can I call you? I'm like, call me? I'm like, want to call me? So he calls me up, and he says, I just want to tell you all this stuff you've done for me. And I'm like, I did all of this. I'm just flowing in what God's telling me, posting it, and he just says, well, I'd like you to be an admin on the group. And I went, oh, I am not an administrator. I can't do this. And it was really funny. And he said, Jackie, it's so easy. He says, but it's not just a group. I meet with all of you each week and this and that. And then I realized, there's my real apostle. Okay. So, so it's been,
who knew?
Huh?
Like coming from Facebook, who knew, right?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. This has been the wildest journey. And let me just tell you, I feel like I could write a book on my journey on Facebook. And so we would get together weekly, but we had separate messenger groups with us, and we would be with Brian and all of us for hours at a time. I was getting so whacked and so drunk in the spirit some days I couldn't get to the shower till 2 o'clock. I'm going, Brian, I can't even get to the shower. Oh, don't worry about the shower, Jackie. I said, I cannot believe this is happening on Facebook. it just blew my mind. And so I was growing, and then all of a sudden our group decided, Brian got this idea, we all decided we were going to all rent a house and meet each other face to face. So we rented a house in California on the beach, and we all flew out and met each other face to face. And none of us had met each other face to face.
Wow.
None of us at all. Now, we did lose 2 or 3 along the way, because one was told she was going to get the Kool-Aid. And my one friend, Colleen's son, thought she was going to be head into the sex slave industry.
Oh, wow. Kool-Aid and okay.
Yeah, but think about it. It was crazy. She had never done anything like this, you know? And so, oh my gosh, that meeting out there was just so glorious and so fun. And actually, I was just reflecting on some of the words Brian gave me 7 years ago. And that's why I'm in so much awe right now, because I am just seeing like everything coming into being. Okay, that's why I'm very overwhelmed.
Wow, that's amazing.
I'm on the cusp of that. But we all flew together, and we got together, and you know, it's been an amazing journey. And he's bothered me, and you know, spoken identity into me and all of that. And he wasn't all the way into sonship like everybody is now. It's been quite the journey. So it was quite the journey with him in this, even though he was still introducing me to deeper levels of grace and, you know, identity. There was still a lot missing that he didn't have. So there was a time that we did yeah, it was a time that we did separate, but then we came back together, and it was needed. It was totally needed for him and for me. And when we came back together, there was a multiplication, and it just is increasing and increasing and increasing. So I don't think I need to talk too much more about that, but it's absolutely mind-boggling how, oh, I know, I can say this. Brian would say, Jackie, you need to start doing some live videos. Oh my God, if I did a 5-minute live video, I thought I had conquered the, you know, whatever. And like I said, I started doing just Facebook lives last year after COVID started. God told me to go live every day, and I did almost every single day. And I'll tell you, I touched so many people, and I can tell you as a result of that, because I'm a launcher. Anybody who's going to come around me, you're going to get launched into what you're to be in. So it's like I push them off the cliff. I have had at least, I think I counted at least almost 20 people that went live, that came on my lives, that I encouraged to go live, that are all just keep going live. They just keep going live.
This is great. I mean, it's all hands on deck, right? And everybody's got something to share. It's so.
Yes. And the funnest thing is, you know, God did speak to Brian at one point. He said, we'll meet on Facebook, but then we will be face to face. So now you know, God has divinely connected me around the world, and now I fly and meet them all face to face, and we have meetings. So it's incredible.
That is so, that what an amazing story. I can track with so much of it. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That is so amazing. Now, you had mentioned to me, I know you had this huge encounter with the Lord even last night. I know this is kind of an ongoing thing. It's so much so that you said you kind of had to shut it down because you were like, I
was trying to push it away. Woo! You know, shock and awe. Mm-hmm.
Right. And I didn't know if you want to share anything with that.
Yeah, I'll share a little bit about that. My journey it's been a really long journey waiting for my promises. I knew how to, you know, I've known that things were coming, and I've got many words and all of that. And one day I said to God, God, I know I'm birthing things, and I know things should be in existence. Why aren't they coming forth? And I had a dream that night. And that night, God gave me a dream that I was standing by a creek bed, and there was a dam that broke loose, and there was a puppy on the bank, and the puppy had 8 puppies. Wow. And he said, when your promises come, they're all coming at the same time.
Wow.
And I'm literally at that place like now.
That is so exciting. God really is faithful. And this is such an encouragement, because I know a lot of people are kind of waiting for that. It really does come. And I love that.
Yep.
Puppy with 8 puppies. So it's the number of completion, right? Perfection. Completion. And new beginnings, actually the number of new beginnings. So it's actually completed, and now you're launching it into the new of what the Lord has.
Yes, and it is. Woo, my life's about ready to do a 360, and it's going to be very, very unfamiliar. But I tell every single person on my lives, if you're going to go to the new, it's going to be in the unfamiliar and the uncomfortable.
Right.
It's
This is
always
how
the
we
way.
catch.
It's the only way. It is the only way. But wow, I just am like, woo, as much as I minister all over and I minister to people online all over, and I have so many connections and have touched thousands. I thought one day how many thousands I've touched on Facebook. It's been thousands. I still get testimonies all the time, even from people 6 years ago and stuff, and but I have built not anything in my home, my land. Okay. And people will say, well, what do you do there? I'm like, nothing. And I have no one. And so I've lived still in a lot of isolation here. And I keep telling them, until I hear the whisper of the Father, I won't do anything.
Sure.
And so I had an encounter about 3 months ago. I got to tell Miss Kay Fairchild that too. That was fun. And love her. Shout out to her. And it was wild. Just tell you this one piece of this encounter. There was a ground, and it didn't look like the earth. I don't know what it was, but all of a sudden it broke open, and this being that was made out of cubes. Okay, it was a cubed being, and it was fuchsia. Okay, that's all I can say. This being was fuchsia. I was so blown away, and I wasn't scared, but I was just so blown away. This is what I said when I had this encounter. I said it was like nothing I've ever seen. And I said, I just have never experienced, I said, it wasn't that I was scared, it's just that I've never seen anything like it. So the ground breaks open, and the being starts to sit up, and I am yelling, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. Okay, that's all I could yell was, it's coming. And, it took me about 3 days, and I was like, oh, Father, what is this? What is this being? And he said, that's the awakening in my land.
Oh, wow.
That's coming.
Isn't that wow? Well, yay.
Yay.
Probably vote for more awakening, because we are all.
Oh, I'm excited. And this is big. It is big. It's wild. I've had so many dreams in the last couple of weeks that I'm like, God, no more. Okay. I'm just like, oh, this is enough. This is enough. I kid you not. I was just putting some of the pieces together last night, because God's sending me help too. He is. He's sending me help. And this is a wild. Yeah, this is a wild thing. I've been connecting with a whole bunch of people out in Washington, and I went out there and met some of them face to face. Actually, I went to Washington last year in August for the first time, and I met a bunch of these people and converged with them and got some amazing divine connections. And one of the names was Lynn Joyful, and it was a ball. Okay. Yeah. And so it was wild and crazy. I will never forget the day Angel and her and I connected. That was a night I will never forget. Okay. It was a blast. It was crazy. So anyways, I'm giving her words out there and all of this. And I'm telling her, oh, you're going to quit that job. You are so full. You're going to go. And oh my God, she was getting so mad at me. And if I hear that one more time, and God's got to show me and all of this. Well, I'm here to say, that girl 13 months later is selling every single thing and leaving, okay? Right. And flying to my house to stay for a while.
That is
so this is pretty wild. Did I ever believe she was coming to be with me when I was giving her those words? No. Right. And no clue. And she's taken the leap of faith, and she is free falling, and I just cannot believe it. So she's coming here. And I know we're going to be doing a lot of traveling together, but I also know we're going to be starting to establish this hub in my land. So
that's exciting.
It's going to be wild. Oh, these dreams scared the heck out of me, though. Yeah, I'm just going to tell you, it's wild, it's crazy, and it's very overwhelming. I can tell you that. Yeah. Because even last night I was saying, they're coming. I'm like, oh my God, it's my encounter when I said it's coming.
Right.
They're coming. Yeah.
Yeah. Person. Wow. We're needing it. I mean, it's powerful. God is, he's so present and so moving. But it really takes eyes to see, because there's so many people crying out for tangible situations to change that will eventually change, but that's not what God is, how God is addressing things. And so, but it's so powerful when we're able to connect in a really deep way and seek.
Right. One of One of the greatest gifts that Brian carries is his revelation on the inheritance of the saints. And I would tell you what, it's amazing, because when you understand that we need each other, we are a mirror to one another, and that somebody else is carrying a part, that if you don't get that part, which I call those beautiful divine tables of exchange, that if you don't get with those people, you're not going to get the part you need to get into the fulfillment of who you are.
Absolutely.
So yes,
absolutely.
Yeah, and to find those treasures.
Yeah, of everyone. I mean, we need one another. You know,
Totally. And it's the one man show's over,
oh,
and he's knitting the body together, and you cannot do it alone, and you cannot do it in your vertical him and I. It is horizontal. And he's in each one of us. So it's like every time you meet someone else that is a beautiful divine connection, you're meeting with him, and you're getting every part that's in them in him. So, and that's how the fullness is going to come together, as we are all coming together.
Absolutely. And that whole concept of oneness, I mean, it is a thing. If he's redeeming all things to himself, he's actually redeeming us as one. And so
as one, right.
And that's what so much of the joy is, because as we one another,
that's what we're longing for. And that's where true intimacy is.
Actually,
see, and I have to say that intimacy I was longing for, I have found. And I would tell you this too. This is cool. This one time when I was so like, oh my gosh, where's my house? Where's my home? And I saw the ruby slippers. I was in a meeting and I saw these ruby slippers click, and I thought, yes, my home's coming. Well, months later, I'm looking for my house, my home. It didn't come. And I said, God, I thought you showed me that. And that's what that meant. He goes, you want to know what that meant? And I said, what? He said, when you know your home is in me, you'll feel at home everywhere.
No, yes, absolutely.
And guess what? I'm there. And I am a Goldilocks, because I do manage a lot of properties, and God has given me amazing places to live and houses to be in. But I will tell you what, now I get that. I am home wherever I go.
That is great. And being at home in your own skin. So you're at home. At home with yourself, or you can really connect with who you've been created to be and connect with others.
Exactly. Yes. I found that identity, intimacy, all of it.
Love it.
Which is everything.
Yes, it is. Oh, that's,
yes. I love it. And I know I'm shifting here, because I'm just getting a shift in me. So I'm going to shift. I just want to say this, a whole bunch of my journey, I've been in the prophetic for over 20 years. And then I had to shift from being in the old prophetic thing into the new. Now, I didn't have one person to help me or show me that way. And I can tell you, it was a time that I was separated from Brian for a little bit. And, everybody kept saying, well, we only need the gifts until we reach maturity. And I'm like, well, God, we're going into maturity. So am I supposed to quit doing this?
Right.
And I didn't understand, but I just always had this desire to encourage people and build them up and all of that. And I would tell you, thank God for Miss Kay Fairchild, because she wholly shifted me in this. She kept coming on my videos, and I'd be like, what is she doing on here? And she would cheer me on, but I just was intimidated by her. But because I kept thinking, well, I guess I'm not supposed to still be doing this, but this is what I do. And I didn't realize in the whole shift, first of all, I was coming out of, I no longer build anybody up in the, or train, get anybody going in gifts and activate that anymore. It's not it. I am completely reconciling people to the Father and bringing identity. I tell them this, I put my arms like this and I say, I am here to connect you to him. And then I am here to show you who you are in him. So that's what I'm doing.
You're preaching my language. I love it.
So that's exactly what I'm doing. But I literally pioneered my whole way in that, because I did not even know how to do it. But one day I got to go see Kay. I've seen her a couple times. And the first time I went to see her, oh my God, she spins around and points her finger at me. And I'm like, oh, here she goes, yeah, Jackie. And I'm like, she never prophesies.
Right.
Whoa. Anyways, and she said to me, she says, I don't want to hear you say one more time that you're operating in that gift, because you are not in the gift. You are not in the part any longer. You are in she said, it is nothing but, how did she say it to me? I'm trying to think how she said it. She said, it is the seven spirits of God, basically. And it is, you are in, what am I trying to say? It's coming to me. My AirPods are dying. I was hoping they weren't going to do this. So I'm hoping I can hook up, or I can just take them off maybe.
However, even if you want to do manual ear pods, manual, just plug something
I
in.
do, but the last time I did that, it went off. So I'm a little leery, but I think if I go this way, it doesn't. But what I wanted to say was, she said, you are operating in the Spirit of the Lord. And she said, you are directly, she said, it's words of knowledge, words of wisdom. And she says, just don't even speak that anymore, because it's directly coming from this, this, and this. And I was like, yes. Oh my gosh. That brought me such a boldness to just blow into a whole nother realm with who I am, because I was no longer in the battle thinking that I just was supposed to let that go.
Right.
And she said, Jackie, everybody needs to be encouraged. Everybody. And we all need it. And I was like, oh, thank God. Yeah. And then he stretched me. Then he really stretched me. Then the last meeting I was at, I had to give her a word. I was flipping and tripping. I'm like in the morning, I'm going, sure. I start hearing the stuff for Kay, and I'm going, oh, I gotta give her a word. I said I'd much rather send her a voice recorded for And anyways, I did give her a word, and she was really touched. And she does cheer me on. Love her. Love her.
Of course. Oh my goodness, I love it. Well, it's really growing up in maturity, in our oneness, in our union with him. Everything flows out of that. And so when we look at it and parcel it out, we're really treating it as it's fragmented, when we're just really flowing in the fullness.
And that's exactly what she said. You are no longer fragmented. I thought, I'm not fragmented.
Right. For that. Oh, wow.
I'm not a part anymore. Anyway, that was
uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know where my bearings are, but I know my bearing is in you. So I get to be settled and rooted in that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, Jackie.
This was so fun.
Wow, it was so fun. Oh my goodness. So unfortunately, we're gonna have to wind down.
I feel it.
We could keep on going.
Oh yes, but it's good.
Jackie, you were delightful, and I hope you come back again. But I do want to, because I know how you've opened. I just see, just for so many, you've just opened things up, and people are going to want to get to know you, contact you if they want to find you. How do they find you?
Yes. Well, first of all, I don't have a website yet, but I've had people offer to do them. So I'll be doing one. But, they can come to my email, which is all lowercase Jackie Myers. Myers is MYERS. It's Jackie Myers 1029 at AOL.com. Or they can come to my Facebook page. Like I said, that's been a whole lot of my journey. I do a lot of lives on there, and you can private messenger me there. And it's Jackie, and it's Ekstrom, EKSTROM, Myers, MYERS. And I do respond to Messenger as soon as I come with people. I'm not one to not respond. So, come on in. I'm trying to do a few more things on Instagram, but I just haven't quite done it. It's really been a Facebook journey for me right now.
Sure. Well, that's so great. And I will include those in the information.
Okay.
Wow. Well, Jackie, what a joy you are.
I know. I can't wait to meet you face to face.
No, right. We need to do this face to face.
Oh, it will be. It will be.
I'm feeling it. So yes, we're in agreement. Papa's saying
yes. Yes.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for coming on board. Unfortunately, I have to, transition.
It's okay. All good.
We'll reconnect.
It was wonderful and wonder filled.
Yes, it was.
Yes. And it's all about the wonder. So I'm going to tell you, I just want to leave on that note. It's all about the wonder. I've had such encounters being wonderstruck in the wonder storm. And I'm going to tell you right now, enter into the wonder, because it is all about the childlike wonder. It's all about the now moment. It's not tomorrow and it's not the past, but it's about the now. And that's where a child enters into, and that's where they have that spontaneous joy, is in the wonder.
So enter into the wonder, be wonder filled.
Absolutely. And God is just one to help you, empower you to do so and teach
Yes.
you that. So, and of course, sitting
Amen.
sitting with Jackie and gleaning from her, there's just a beautiful flow that comes from that. So, yay, so much.
Yay.
I love you. Looking forward
Okay. Yep.
to the face, and we will catch
Awesome.
up and reconnect again.
Okay. Thanks for having me.
Love ya.
Bye-bye. Love you too.
Bye.